All right, so today we're making Nanaimo bars. Before you get into the video, I just wanted to say I made a couple mistakes through the video. This is my mom's own recipe. She just forwarded it off to me. And I have eaten these and loved them for 30 years, but I've never made them with my mom. So I didn't know the little extra needed steps that weren't necessarily written in her recipe. I've updated the recipe that's gonna be posted down below, so you should be good to go. Laugh along with me at the mistakes that I make, but follow the recipe, not the words that I'm necessarily saying, and enjoy. They turned out great. I just took an extra 3 or 4 steps along the way. All right, enjoy. Hello. Okay, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're gonna make my mom's secret family recipe for Nanaimo bars. So if you don't know what Nanaimo bars are, they're a 3-layer delicious dessert. My mom only makes this at Christmas, so this is a treat having them made in April. There's 3 layers, like I said. So the base layer, you need white sugar, butter, cocoa powder, 1 egg, vanilla, graham cracker crumbs, and shredded coconut. The middle layer, if you know what they look like, they're always so yellow. That color comes from Bird's custard powder, so you need this in the middle layer. My mom's recipe calls for milk. The one I looked up before she sent me this called for whipping cream. So I'm gonna use whipped cream, but I'll post my mom's recipe down below and that'll include milk. So the custard powder, whipping cream, icing sugar, and more butter. And then the top layer is just chocolate and butter again. So we have these semi-sweet baking chocolate squares. Usually you get baker's chocolate. It was gone. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands and then we'll get stuff mixed for the first layer. Okay, I have my bowl here. This glass bowl is gonna go into a pot of water I have on the stove. I don't have a double boiler, so this is what I'm gonna use instead. If you have a double boiler, that's what you'll put all of the first ingredients in. All right, let's go on. So I have an egg. One egg, I should mix that. And we're gonna do 5 tablespoons of my soft butter that I have here. So the reason we're using a double boiler is to get all of the ingredients mixed together while the butter is melting. 1. And we want the double boiler on low heat because we don't want to cook the egg, we just want to melt the butter. 2. 3. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but it calls for 5 tablespoons, so I'm just going to use 5 tablespoons. 4. And 5. Okay. Our next ingredient is the cocoa powder, which I should have done first, so I'm just going to kind of wipe this guy out with a paper towel. And we're going to do 5 tablespoons again of cocoa powder. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. And then we need vanilla. We're just doing 1 tablespoon of this. 1 tablespoon. And before we put it on the heat, the last thing is sugar. I messed this up. It was supposed to be 1/2 cup of soft butter. Okay, well, I learned in the last video, the churros needed 8 tablespoons of soft butter, and someone commented that 8 tablespoons equals 1/2 cup. So that was great that they did that conversion. So I'm gonna do 3 more tablespoons of this. If you're making it at home, it's just 1/2 cup of soft butter. My apologies. Okay, we already did 5, so that's number 6. Seven. And oh, that's a lot. There we go. 8. Okay, crisis averted. Rookie mistake. Read the recipe. And then we need 5 tablespoons of sugar. So this tablespoon is getting a lot of action. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. All right. So this is the mixture that's going to go on the stove. As soon as it comes off, once the butter is melted, we're gonna do the graham cracker crumbs and the coconut. So I'm gonna measure that out first. So let's read this one properly. 2 cups of graham cracker crumbs. Scissors here. Gonna be pretty well this whole bag. 1. 2. All right, and 1/2 cup of coconut. Ooh. There we go. We'll stir this all together. And then once the cocoa mixture comes off of the stove, we'll pour it in here, mix it all around, and then it gets pressed into the bottom of an ungreased 9x9 baking pan. All right. Okay, our water is warm enough now. Remember, we don't want it too hot. We don't want this to boil. And I'm just gonna make sure that I keep this constantly moving just while the butter melts. And as soon as the butter has melted, I'm taking it off the heat. Okay, my chocolate mixture here has just come off of the stove. Be careful, mine's not too hot, but it could be hot if you're pulling it off. We are going to mix these graham cracker and coconut mixture into the cocoa mixture here. I want to try and get as much chocolate on everything as I can, so I'm not going to mix it all at once. It smells delicious. I just want to lick it. But don't, the finished product is better. Okay, we're almost there. It starts to get a little trickier at the end when things are drying up. Switch to my wooden spoon. We're almost there. We just want everything to be sort of cocoa coated looking before we put it into the bottom of the pan, because that's what holds everything together. Okay, I think that's as good as it's gonna get. So this bowl's still a little bit warm, but I'm gonna take my ungreased pan. Came out pretty easy. I'm gonna wash that bowl for later because that's what we're gonna be melting the chocolate in for the final layer. It's not very hot, you can use your fingers. Gonna make sure it's pressed in as evenly as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect though, because we do have 2 more layers coming. But you don't want it too far apart because then it's crumbly when you go to eat it. Looks pretty good to me. All right, I'm going to set this in the fridge while we do the middle layer, just to let it harden up a little bit. It's already not even very warm, but just to let it harden up a bit before we pour some custard on it. Okay, let's get our middle layer started. So I only have 1 tablespoon and everything is measured in tablespoons pretty much in this half of the recipe, or third, I guess. So I'm gonna start with the custard powder because that seems like the least messy. So we're doing 2.5 tablespoons of custard powder. And it looks white right now, but from my memory, this stuff yellows up almost instantly once it gets wet, so. 1. Ooh. Sort of has the same consistency as icing sugar. 2. And a half. right, we have our custard powder in. The next thing we're gonna do is 3 tablespoons of milk. So like I said, my mom's recipe calls for milk. I had already bought whipped cream or heavy cream. So I'm gonna use this, 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, oh, that was a lot. 3. And finally, some more butter, 4 tablespoons of butter. So you guys have watched me do this many times by now. You can already see it's kind of yellowing up in there. One. 2. Careful it doesn't splash on you. 3. And 4. So if 8 of these is half a cup, 4 of them is likely 1/4 of a cup. So you could have done that, but this is so fun. So we may as well just fill up this little tablespoon. There we go. And finally, the icing sugar. I'm gonna give this just a little stir so you can see how yellow it gets. Very yellow so far. Okay. We're doing 2 cups of this, which seems like a lot, but icing sugar pretty much melts away when it gets liquidy. 1. 2. All right. I'm gonna stir the heck out of this. Get it all nice and colorful, and then we are going to add it to our chocolate and coconut and graham cracker base in our pan. Okay, I hit a little snag there. I should have melted the butter. Soft butter is great, but it's not very liquidy, and we need that for the custard powder and the icing sugar. So I picked the little balls of butter out, and we're back on track. Still looks pretty tasty, so let's hope I didn't wreck us too much here. Again, the spatula is a little too floppy. I'm gonna get the wooden spoon back here until it's time to spread this stuff out. Milk is also a little thinner than whipping cream is. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I might add a little touch more whipped cream in here. It is mixing, but not incredibly. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more. My only clean one is half a teaspoon, so let's add a couple of those. 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon, so let's go with that. I'll change the recipe down below, but we'll see how this works. I've eaten these every year at Christmas, but I actually haven't never made them with my mom. It was always kind of like her thing that she made. Yeah, here we go. Okay, this is what it should look like. Just needed a little bit more liquid in there. So melted butter, not soft globs of butter, and an extra tablespoon of milk, whipped cream, whatever you put in, sort of as needed. Much better. Okay, let's get our bottom layer and spread it out. Let's get this good stuff on. This is where all the sweetness comes from. We used cocoa for the bottom, which, yeah, had some sugar in it, but it's not overly sweet. The top is semi-sweet baking chocolate, so that's also not super sweet. But this layer is essentially all sugar. So this is where the sweetness comes from. And as a kid, I probably could have eaten the entire bowl of this custard because of the sweetness. Not bad. It spreads pretty easily, so once you get it to the right consistency, it's not too bad. My mom typically did this over a 2-day period. So she would do the 2 layers first, the graham cookie or graham cracker crumb layer, and then this custard layer, and she swore by letting it chill overnight. I am going to put it in the freezer and let it chill in there, so we don't have to let it chill for quite as long. But if you have the time and the patience, I would put it in the fridge and let it chill overnight, and then do the chocolate either the next morning or the afternoon. But I want you guys to be able to make these either this weekend or before the weekend. So I'm gonna quick chill them. All right, I'm gonna put these back in the fridge and then we will melt the chocolate. All right, we are ready to make the last layer here. This layer only takes 2 ingredients. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of butter and a whole bunch of baking chocolate. So you wanna get semi-sweet chocolate. Like I said, that middle layer is already so sweet with all of the icing sugar and the custard powder and everything. So semi-sweet chocolate is the way to go. Tablespoon of butter. This one will be melting on the stove, so I don't need to melt it in the microwave. Again, I'm using this Pyrex bowl that I had. Can't get the butter off. There we go. Because I'm gonna put it on my pot over not boiling water, but some warm water on the stove, and it's gonna act as my double boiler. So we want to do 4 squares of these. You can put them right in, but it's going to take forever to melt them. So we're just going to cut them up a little bit. Ooh, careful it doesn't spray everywhere. Okay, should be good. Let's put it in our bowl here. Risky. That went pretty well. Okay, and then I'm gonna get this on the stove, melt it around, and then we'll put it on top of our Nanaimo bars and put it in the fridge overnight to chill. And by tomorrow morning, I will be eating Nanaimo bars. Water seems nice and warm. Don't really want it to boil, so I just turned it down a bit. I'm gonna put our makeshift double boiler on top and let the chocolate and the butter do its thing, melt away. All right, last step. The chocolate is nice and melty. Bring my pan out of the freezer here. Feels pretty good. If you want to take like a 30-minute break, go for a walk, let your custard kind of harden up a little before putting burning hot chocolate on it, it's probably fine, but we'll see. And it doesn't seem like a ton of chocolate. You don't really need very much more. We'll just put it all in the middle here and then spread it out. I want to try and get it to the corners as much as I can, just for myself, because I think it looks nice and tidy all in each corner. There we go, that's a bit better. I think that's as good as it's gonna get. I would love to say I could do a cool pattern or something on here, but again, I'm a rookie baker. There we have it. Nanaimo bars. I'm gonna put them in the fridge and test them in the morning. If you make these, don't forget to send me a photo. Have your coordinator or your family or someone send a photo to me and enjoy. Let me know if you liked this recipe.